Kicking off this afternoon, my very good friend Doug Shaw is here, artist, facilitator, neo-generalist, musician, social media guru, all-round super bloke, and that's in my own words. So we met via the power of Twitter probably 5 or 6 years ago, I think, and we actually wrote a song together before we met each other. Hasn't come with his guitar today, but I think there's quite a lot of artwork, and we're going to run this as a Pecha Kucha session, so it's 20 slides of 20 seconds each. I think that theme continues into some of this afternoon's presentations as well. So I will pass you over to Doug.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, Neil, I'm just going to move your beautifully handwritten notes out of the way so that I can stare at my own illegible scribble. There we go. Right. I'm going to start proper in a moment, and as Neil says, once I start, I'm kind of committed because what you see, what will unfold before you, I have no control over. Every 20 seconds the picture changes, and I have to try and remember to keep up. It's maybe not the most greatest form of presentation when it comes to thinking about personal human resilience, but Neil is a good friend, and he did ask me if I would come and do this for you, so I'm going to attempt it. A couple of things I want to say just before I start. First thing, I am almost frozen with nerves right now. I'm incredibly nervous. And I need to tell you that, partly because that's part of my coping mechanism, so I can kind of let a little bit of it out. I don't mean literally, I'm not about to wet myself. Although, hey, who knows? If it gets another laugh like that, I might just do it. There's a joke about that somewhere, saying about having a wee in a dark suit gives you a warm feeling, but nobody else notices. Anyway, enough of the funnies. And the other reason I'm telling you that I'm nervous about this is because I think we've all got stories to tell, and actually the only thing very often that's stopping us is ourselves. So I am a very nervous presenter. I'll do my best to try and mask that and deliver something useful for you in the next few minutes. But never forget that, if I can do this, I'm just an ordinary bloke, so can you. The other thing that I'd just like to acknowledge, as a card-carrying member of the Women's Equality Party, and proudly so, and trust me, that isn't funny, it's deadly serious, I'd just like to say thank you very much indeed to Flick and Claire for sharing their knowledge and thoughts with us today. I feel slightly embarrassed that there aren't more women joining us up front here during the course of the day. However, I would like to acknowledge their contribution, and in the spirit of moving forward, I'd like to say thank you to CoreNet for inviting a couple of women. If you could see your way to including more next year, then you don't get boring old farts like me, and you probably have a lot more fun. So International Women's Day, I'm very proud to be a member of the Women's Equality Party and celebrate that. Thank you, as if I wasn't nervous enough. Okay, so it's time, isn't it? I need to get a wriggle on. Yeah, okay. I do have to have some words with me because, well, you'll see why in a minute. So, if I may, if you could start us off, please. Thank you. What is resilience? In a search for the meaning of life, I approach Facebook and Twitter, asking, I say resilience, you say... I was overwhelmed with the responses, almost all of them different. Too many to list, and I hope to distill some in the next few minutes. Writing in The New Yorker, Maria Konnikova says, whether you can be said to have resilience or not largely depends on the way your life unfolds. If you're lucky enough to never experience any sort of adversity, we won't know how resilient you are. It's only when you're faced with obstacles, stress, and other environmental threats that resilience, or the lack of it, emerges. Do you succumb or do you surmount? Now, I take issue with this either-or and binary approach, if you like. For me, part of resilience is being open to the possibilities. The reason I use art in my consulting work is because it invites inquiry. Its subjective nature helps us let go of our addiction to certainty. Now, the human brain holds many thoughts, and my suggestion to you is let's use more of them to nurture ourselves and each other in pursuit of better outcomes. I'm going to briefly touch on my experience of resiliency in relation to three important things: coping with loss, connection and creativity, and the beauty of impermanence. In 2012, when my dad died, after the post-death rush of the funeral, I tried to get over the loss. And the harder I tried, the more I failed. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and John Kessler wrote, "The reality is you will grieve forever. You will not get over the loss of a loved one. You will learn to live with it. You will heal and you will rebuild yourself around the loss you have suffered. You will be whole again, but you will never be the same. Nor should you be the same, nor would you want to. Now, once I grasped that, and it took me years to do so, I could then appreciate that I am not the same, nor do I want to be. I believe we need to stop telling each other to get over loss and encourage healing and rebuilding instead. Tash Stallard, a dear friend of mine, suggests that when we undertake those simple things which bring us joy, taking a walk, reading, and in my case, painting, we dissolve the need for resilience. There's real power in that idea. I love Tash and how she thinks. As my art develops, my need for resilience dissolves. I slowly become more confident with colour, shape, and texture. I start to experiment with themes. Currently, I'm exploring a form of elemental art, connectedness born of what we come from and what we need to survive. Each element, earth, water, air, fire, is made tangible in geometric forms using simple materials, just acrylic paints, gold and silver leaf. I also find the confidence to share different emerging work with you. I build resilience through experimentation, and the sharing helps strengthen connections. Now, in April 2016, I began to make art and give it away in my local community. So far, I've made and given away 75 artworks. This is number 76, and during the coffee break, I will hide it somewhere if you would care to go and try and find it. You may choose not to. That's up to you. The connections made with my practice and with my local community are invaluable. The way in which this project has brought me closer to where I live after so many years of living there, and where I live closer to me, I can't really begin to describe it. But the people in my hometown know each other better, in part thanks to the art. And it's not just in my immediate community. I've left work in Australia. I left this at the Shrine of Remembrance in Melbourne the other week, when I was fortunate to be working there, and the USA, as well as other parts of the UK too. Building resilience through connectedness, I think it really matters. And for me, it helps foster this latent creativity. I'm starting to approach the community for ideas. What should I paint this week? This particular picture was in response to Storm Doris. And what was really interesting was because the community suggested it, it created a real buzz and rush, people trying to find it when it was hidden in the local area. And these exchanges, small though they are, build connectedness and resilience among us. As my resilience grows around the project, I take on ideas I wouldn't have dreamt of previously. I'm asked, can you paint a turtle? And it would appear that the answer is yes. There's a lot of love in and around this project. I could talk about it all afternoon. Thankfully for you, I'm not going to. Right. My third observation is this, that there is beauty in impermanence and imperfection, and our resilience helps us to see this. Kintsugi is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with lacquer containing powdered gold. As a philosophy, it treats breakage and repair as part of the history of the object, rather than something to disguise. Kintsugi pieces are prized precisely because they have been broken. The cracks you see in these pieces represent how the broken lines themselves are so beautiful and so important that they are rejoined with gold instead of glue. In our lives, we often try to repair our broken places with glue. We quietly work to piece our lives back together after life-changing events, hoping that if we do a good enough job, the cracks won't be readily visible. But sooner or later, we all carry scars, whether they be internal, external, or both. We will all break in different places and in different ways. To me, resilience means acknowledging the beauty in those breaks, not trying to deny their existence. So there you have it, a whistle-stop tour of resilience from my own perspective through the lens of coping with loss, connectedness and creativity, and the beauty of impermanence. But what really matters, as I learned in my search for information on this subject, is what's important to you. And I hope whatever is important to you, that you find more of it here today. Thank you. Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you.